Will people be able to see woolly mammoths again? What creature hibernated for decades and was able to recover? And what's the plan to revive the legendary Tasmanian wolf? Watch the episode to the end and you'll find out this and more. Today, I'll show you animals that are planned to be revived or even have already been revived. Let's go! Revive the mammoths. This is the task facing scientists from different places of our planet. Of course, we would like this process to be much faster, but the process of restoring extinct species is not as simple as it may seem at first glance. Geneticists from an American company expect that they'll be able to revive woolly mammoths, extinct about 4,000 years ago, by 2025. They plan to do this with the help of genome editing technology, which will add the genes of extinct animals to the genes of Asian elephants existing today. This idea seemed so promising to people that donors helped the company raise over $15 million. And here it's important to realize that the mammoths, born in such a non-standard way, will not be original but hybrid. However, because the DNA of Asian elephants and mammoths is 99.6% identical, scientists plan to take the very missing 0.4% of genes from mammoths, thus obtaining a complete genetic copy of woolly mammoths. It's still an open question what animal and how will it carry the embryos. Some think that Asian elephants are suitable for this role. Others think that it's better to use an artificial uterus. And strangely enough, the second option is not only easier to realize but also faster. All the necessary DNA data can be taken from the previously found bones of extinct animals, but strange as it may seem, in the process of implementation, the main problem arose not because of it. The second part of scientists confidently states that the reviving of mammoths will bring more minuses than pluses. These people are sure that the harm from trampling on moss and destruction of trees by mammoths will be more significant than the possible benefits. Besides, the woolly mammoth is able to mature no earlier than in 30 years, which once again calls into question the adequacy or expediency of this project. What do you think? Is it worth resurrecting already extinct animals? Or if fate treated them like this, then their time's past and it's not worth dredging up the past? Share your thoughts in the comments. Water bears. Despite the popular belief that it's not worth bringing anyone back to life, some scientists and laboratories do it. For example, Japanese researchers have successfully brought back to life an animal that had been frozen for 30 years. I'm talking about a tardigrade, found 3 decades ago in Antarctica. Tardigrades are also known as water bears. They're very small creatures, which length is barely more than a millimeter, if not less. But despite this, the creature rightfully holds the title of one of the most resilient on the entire planet. Tardigrades don't care at all about things that would kill ordinary organisms in a matter of minutes. They can easily survive nuclear explosions and even vacuum conditions in space. During the experiment, tardigrades withstood staying in liquid oxygen with a temperature of -315.4 degrees Fahrenheit for 20 months, 8-hour cooling with liquid helium with a temperature of -455.8 degrees Fahrenheit, as well as successfully withstood heating up to 212 degrees Fahrenheit. Besides, they were exposed to X-rays of 600,000 rads, and about 50% of the tardigrades survived. For comparison, a person can die when exposed to 5,000 rads. After all this, I don't know if scientists brought anyone back to life at all. After all, as soon as the water bear came to its senses after a long freeze, very soon it laid eggs and gave birth to completely healthy offspring. Who knows, maybe even 50 or 100 years of cryptobiosis would not have changed anything for these creatures. Move, tardigrades. The rotifer will say confidently that it will have every right to do so. Russian scientists have revived this creature after them being 24,000 years in hibernation. How can these primitive creatures do such a thing? Where do they get the strength and energy to live? None of the researchers has received an exact answer to this question yet. It's only known that when rotifers enter their state of zen, they curl up in a ball and slow down most of the life processes, waiting for better times. Previously, scientists believed that such hibernation allows them to survive for as long as 10 years, and it seemed to be an impressive result. But recently, 24,000-year-old rotifers were found in samples of permafrost in Yakutia, Russia, which still felt great. It's scary to even think about what they're capable of in theory. These organisms are also known as wheel animals. They got their name from the cilia formed on their front part. They'd use them to move around and feed. It'd be strange if, with such a survival date, they lived in a specific area, so they can be found not only in fresh water, but also in moist soil and damp moss. In total, science knows more than 1,500 species of rotifers, but so far none of the scientists have solved any of their secrets. The people just say the obvious things, that the animals slow down the vital processes in their body very abruptly and stuff. But no one knows exactly how this happens. But people keep finding new worms that surprise no less than the previous ones. So this time they got a Siberian worm, which stayed in hibernation more than previous creatures, about 46,000 years. Again, no one understands how a creature can be in cryptobiosis for so long. If you didn't know, cryptobiosis is an analog of anabiosis, or suspended animation. The tissues of a living creature in this state are dried out, due to which they're not exposed and death does not occur. This is an incredibly useful quality for a worm living in the Siberian permafrost. Science knows very few creatures capable of going into cryptobiosis, and almost nothing is known about the concept of this phenomenon. We often talk about reviving a species, but in any case it implies the restoration of a still living being in a frozen state or something like that. But do you know what the first creature in history to be truly revived was? It was a bucardo, a subspecies of the Iberian ibex. This animal, which lived in the Pyrenees in Spain and France, was exterminated by hunters at the end of the 20th century. In 1989, scientists said there were about 10 bucardo in the world, and in 2000, the last representative of the species, the female Celia, died. Some scientists have already given up in despair, but they did it only because of ignorance. It turned out that when the female was still alive, some resourceful people took her genetic material and froze skin samples. Thanks to this, there was a slim chance that the species could still be restored. They did it in the following way. The bucardo DNA was placed in the eggs of goats, from which the goat material was removed, and then the embryos were planted in surrogate mother goats. In short, they tried to revive bucardo by cloning goats. Spanish institutes were engaged in this, and soon they received the first positive news. The next goat that was born this way turned out to be a female. Unfortunately, she lived less than 10 minutes. She had serious inoperable lung pathology. However, this already indicated that it would be possible to restore the species in this way sooner or later. Black-footed ferret. Actually, I see that cloning is a fairly good process among scientists, which has a good percentage of successful mission completions. Here's another example. In the United States, for the first time, people successfully cloned an endangered species of ferrets called the black-footed ferret. In order to succeed, the people used frozen cells from an extinct species. They were able to modify them and get a completely healthy, new individual which had no problems and was able to perform any important functions for reproduction. It's great that modern cloning and genome editing technologies can save other animals that are on the verge of extinction. For example, the Przewalski's horse, also known as the Mongolian wild horse. This species used to live in Asia, but by 1969 there were no more of them left in the wild. Fortunately, some representatives of the species survived in captivity, so it was decided to immediately begin the process of cloning. In the summer of 2020, the first results appeared, and a healthy foal was born. It was cloned from genetic material preserved 40 years ago. Once the foal is weaned, it will join other members of its species in the safari park and begin to develop like the rest of the individuals. People do not want to take special care of it, as there's a high risk that it will not grow strong and independent enough, which after a while will lead to the same outcome as before, that is, extinction. One might think that there are enough horses in the world, so why clone all of them, even the most ancient individuals? I personally have not found an answer to this question. Probably they have some special effect on the flora and fauna in the wild. But be that as it may, we should not be concerned about it. We only see that in recent years, people are working harder and harder to clone the Siberian horse, an ancient and rare breed. The genome, which will serve as a sample for further research, was taken by scientists from the remains found in Yakutia, Russia. According to preliminary estimates, the remains were about 42,000 years old. From them, people successfully extracted a sample of liquid blood, preserved due to low temperature. It's likely that since a huge amount of money and so much time is spent on this, the species will indeed bring biological diversity to nature and help in cloning other, no less rare creatures. The researchers are confident that it'll be possible to restore the Siberian horse, although it will take a couple or 3 years. Tasmanian wolf. Have you ever heard of the Tasmanian wolf? If you haven't, it's quite strange because this animal can safely be called a legendary animal, as many people, even those not connected with biological sciences, know about it. There are several reasons for this. Firstly, the Tasmanian wolf became extinct not so long ago. Secondly, it's beautiful and striped. Thirdly, it does not want to be considered completely extinct, which people are happy to help it with. The Tasmanian wolf, also known as the thylacine, was a rather large predator, which could weigh up to 66 pounds and be about 5 feet long. Its coat was short and thick with a remarkable color. On a light brown background, there were 13 to 19 transverse dark stripes that were located behind the shoulder blades. For this peculiarity, it's also called Tasmanian tiger. How can one accept the extinction of this beautiful creature? Its powerful jaws alone made its enemies tremble with terror because the animal opened its amazing mouth 80 degrees. Yes, there's an opinion that the Tasmanian wolf is still alive. Allegedly, it's hiding somewhere in the far reaches of Australia. And because of the inaccessibility of those regions, it doesn't show its face to people. But this is probably urban legend. After all, such wolves used to be found in many places where now there's no news of them. That's why Australian scientists have seriously decided to revive it. They received a generous compensation from the state in the amount of $5 million and created an improved laboratory, which has everything necessary for the successful completion of the mission. However, before completing it, it's necessary to at least bring it to half. Scientists have chosen the method of reverse extinction of the de-extinction. For this purpose, in the next 10 years, they plan to use genome editing technologies and, using preserved DNA samples, transform the cells of the Dunnart into the cells of the Tasmanian wolf. Ironically, it's this small animal that turned out to be the closest living relative of the predator. Then these cells should be used to create an embryo of a Tasmanian wolf and place it in the body of a female of some large marsupial animal, for example, a quoll. After that, all that remains is to take the baby out of the pouch and make sure it grows up safe and healthy. Let's finish with this topic. Next, you'll see animals that took revenge on humans in real life. This leopard was filmed in India. The wild cat was resting and didn't touch anyone. People were really getting on its nerves. They literally surrounded the predator, came close to it, and filmed it with their smartphones. Well, they got the footage, but they had to pay for it. The leopard took off and attacked the crowd. People scattered, but some were unlucky. The leopard grabbed one of the locals and started biting him. Fortunately, it was only a warning bite. The leopard let the man get up and didn't run after him, but just continued to lie down. All it wanted was a little rest. Never underestimate rams. They only appear to be silly and harmless creatures. I guess that's what this guy thought of rams. He thought the animal wouldn't mind being ridden like some horse. The ram didn't tolerate such insolent humiliation. As soon as the prankster got off it, it attacked and kicked him. Once was enough. The guy left the pen in a hurry and learned for life that one must not ride a ram. And here's the relative of the horned beast. This relative is much more dangerous. There's a bull in front of us. And here's a guy standing in front of it, waving his arms, making lunges, and provoking the animal in every way. It was as silly as possible, considering that the bull was not on a leash. Of course, the horned giant got angry, ran at the guy, and tripped up his feet. He ended up falling on the fence and tearing it down. In this video, we see the daily routine of a delivery guy carrying a package to the recipient's house. On the way, he notices a rooster, but he doesn't pay much attention to it. He should have paid attention to it, since this rooster is not an ordinary one, but a fighting one. On the way back, the guy starts chasing the rooster away, telling it to make way for him, that sort of thing. But the rooster doesn't like it. It attacked the delivery guy and he had to defend himself. The second time, the kick failed, and the rooster managed to peck the delivery guy. As a result, the guy had to run away from the bird altogether. Well, watchdogs are now apparently in the past. It's time for watch roosters. The author of the following video saw a creepy scene, which he decided to film. There was a large spider in his bathroom. Of course, it's worth getting rid of such an uninvited guest as soon as possible. For this, the guy decided to neutralize the arthropod with some kind of spray. I don't know whether it was effective or not, but the spider decided to show itself in all its glory for the last time and jumped on the guy, scaring him to death. It'd be better if he just covered the spider with something. The friends caught fresh crabs and decided to bring them home immediately for an exotic dinner. As you know, it's customary to cook these animals alive. And so another creature with claws goes to the pot, but decides to avenge its congeners for the last time. The crab bites sharply the man who was salting it, and the man threw it into the closet in pain. By the way, hit the like button if you've tried freshly cooked real crabs. We see a streamer girl from China, and she turned on the camera at the moment when the animal was already taking revenge on her. In a live broadcast, she decided to eat a live octopus, but something went wrong and the mollusk decided to get revenge on her. At first, the streamer didn't realize how much the octopus can suck on her skin, so she even laughs and generally doesn't look stressed. But soon the octopus started sucking harder and harder, and the streamer panicked. The more the girl tried to pull the mollusk away from her, the more it clung to her. After only 30 to 40 seconds, she was free of these strong tentacles. I don't know if she eventually ate the octopus, but it left her with a small injury on her cheek as a memento. From the first seconds of the video, this fisherman in a kayak shows himself in all his glory and demonstrates his cool skills. He hooks a fish and in one move catches it, then puts it into a container. The man then closed the lid, watched something on his camera, and continued fishing. What could happen next? Would a fish jump out and bite him? Or would it break his fishing rod? Worse, the fish started floundering and threw the fisherman's GoPro into the sea. Get it! Don't you leave your camera out in the open, the fish said. Well, and the fish congener will now have an object in memory of it. When you go bear hunting, you should take powerful guns, traps, and so on. For some reason, the author of this video thought that a bow and arrows would be enough to deal with a bear. And here's the bear itself. The black predator looks at the hunter from a distance, hinting for him to leave, but the man stands still. Then the bear decides to teach him a lesson and at the same time avenge all the animals that have suffered from hunters. The giant swoops down on the archer and knocks him to the ground. The man screams, trying to frighten the bear, and tries to break out, but fails. Bows and arrows don't help him in this position either. Only by some miracle does the bear let the hunter go and escape, which leaves the man alive. And here's some more hunting footage. This time, the action takes place in a field with a deer lurking in it. It looks directly into the camera and at the hunters. It seems to have understood everything and just accepted its fate. The hunter shoots and the animal falls down. The men rejoice and run up to check out their prey, but the deer's not dead. It jumped up sharply and struck the shooter with its antlers. It may have become the hunter's trophy after all, but if so, at least it died with dignity. I have a strange question for you. Have you ever wanted to pet a street rat? Or maybe you've even done it. But the girl in the following video has a different opinion on the matter. She saw a huge rat in the corner and decided to approach it. The rat's huddled in the corner, its back arched, its ears pressed back, its eyes black, and its fur standing on end. Everything indicates that the rat is in a protective position and it's very uncomfortable. But the girl is stroking, petting it, and doesn't want to leave. When she decided to feed the rodent, the rat attacked her sharply and bit her. Well, now the girl should get a couple of vaccines and stop approaching animals on the street. Many people underestimate geese, thinking they're harmless creatures. Remember forever, this is not the case. A man was just walking along the lake and filming himself when he suddenly provoked a local goose. As he ran, the goose rushed after him, attacked and hit him on the head. The author of the video had to flee from such a vicious territory guard. Also, never underestimate monkeys. This guy saw a macaque sitting on a bridge railing and pushed it into the pond. It wasn't so much funny as it was cruel. It was also karmic. The monkey quickly climbed back up and chased the offender. Trying to escape from the primate, the guy ran into the temple, but it didn't help him. In addition, another relative came to the rescue of the macaw. It remained outside the camera's view, but the author of the video said that they clung to the prankster and scratched his face and hands. And again, we have a monkey, this time at the zoo. The girl really liked it and decided to spend time with it. At first, the tourist was just playing with the monkey, and then she started telling it not to steal her cap. The monkey didn't like such pressure, and she grabbed the girl by her hair. It's hard to call it revenge, but the primate showed the girl that animals in the zoo should not be pestered. At the very least, one shouldn't come close to their enclosures and cages. Mostly, animals take revenge on strangers when they see for the first time in their lives, but it also happens that animals take revenge on their owners. Here, for example, is such a case. It's unique because this guy works with snakes. He took a white python and started touching it in all sorts of ways. The guy was lifting it up like a barbell, spinning and twirling it. Eventually, he got too far and pissed off the python. It began to gradually wrap itself around him. The reptile's incredible power was a serious thing. The guy had to be helped because he couldn't unclench the deadly rings by himself. It's lucky that the python only wrapped itself around his legs, not strangled him. I hope this trainer will be more careful now. Animals don't like humans, that's clear. But what about other animals? Stay tuned. Next, you'll see moments when animals saved other animals. When a turtle turns over on its back, it usually cannot return to the initial position. The solid shell restricts its movement and prevents it from turning over. In this position, the turtle is vulnerable. It can die from the sun, from hunger, or become a prey of predators. All this is well known by this turtle's mate that rescued it from trouble. But this bull probably didn't know that. But somehow, intuitively, it sensed that the turtle was in danger. The horned hero did the right thing and flipped the turtle over with its horn to the cheers of the audience. The black dog had fallen into some small ditch. There wasn't much water there, and the height wasn't very big, but the four-legged friend couldn't get out on its own. Fortunately, its faithful congener was there. The dog came running with a rope and a leash, threw it to the poor fellow, and literally pulled it to the ground with its teeth. And here's another hero dog. It spotted a chicken that had somehow fallen into a deep snowdrift. Chickens fly very poorly, so the bird would not have had enough wing strength, and it would have frozen to death. If, of course, it were not for the heroic dog that rescued the feathered creature from the icy captivity. A conflict is ripening on the steps. Two cats are about to figure out things and are ready to spring into action. Catfights rarely lead to anything good, but luckily there was a referee in this case. The dog pulled one cat away and probably saved its life, or at least its health. And here the dogs themselves are already pouncing on the cat. 3 against 1. How unfair. The furball takes a fighting stance, gets fluffy, and is hunched over, showing it's ready to fight. Clearly it doesn't want to. In such a fight, it's doomed. The dogs corner the cat and start fighting. But at the most opportune moment, another cat comes running and heroically saves its congener. The dogs leave the battlefield in complete shock. A little monkey fell into a deep well. It's an unrealistic task to get out on one's own. Neither the size nor the strength are enough. We can see how mother monkeys act in such cases. The primate hung on the edge and lowered its tail, which the baby climbed up. And here, the monkey had to get into the well. And look at this! It was not its congener, but a poor kitten. The baby had fallen into the mud and had no way to get out. Monkey grabbed the furball, human style, and rescued it from the trouble. Not without human help, but still, that's cool. Everyone knows that lions and antelopes are irreconcilable enemies. Predators and herbivores, hunters and prey. Can they even get along? Yes, they can. This lioness, named Kumunyak, not only saved several antelopes, but even adopted them and protected them from her own congeners as long as she could. That's an excellent proof that one can take a great fancy to the prey. And here's another similar case. The lioness could have devoured this baby antelope in no time, but it saved its life. Apparently it also adopted it, just like Kamunyak did. Just look at how gently it carries the baby by the scruff of its neck. Once again, we have an antelope. This time an impala is caught in the teeth of a leopard. So far it's holding on. It's pretending to be dead, so the predator isn't going to eat it. But time is running out, and the leopard can start eating at any moment. Luckily for the impala, a whole group of baboons appeared on the horizon and chased the big cat away. The impala caught its breath and left the unfortunate spot. The orangutan's peaceful life in the enclosure was disrupted by a bird that got in the pond. From that moment on, all the primate could think about was how not to let the little bird drown. The orangutan proved once again how clever primates are. It tore down a leaf, picked up the bird with it, and pulled it to the surface. Now the hero has a real friend. Here's another drowning case. Only this time a crow is drowning, and it takes place in a bear enclosure. Predator could easily have eaten the crow right in the pond, but instead it carefully took it out with its teeth. It didn't eat it on the ground either. After saving the crow, the predator went on about its business. Dogs are incredibly intelligent creatures, and here's another proof of that. This dog somehow realized that fish can't live without water. So it started watering the fish that had fallen to the surface by scooping water from a puddle. Like the dog we just saw, this cat has excellent fish-saving skills. The furball didn't eat the easy prey, but instead saved its life by bringing the fish back into the water. Polar bears are excellent swimmers. They move perfectly through the icy Arctic waters and emerge from the water to kill their prey. But it's all about adult bears. Baby polar bears can't swim. The little bear cub fell into the water in the enclosure and almost drowned. But it was rescued by its mother that skillfully backed the pup up. Once again, we have a drowning animal. This time it was the goat that somehow ended up in a pond. The goat began to drown, but then an unexpected hero came to the rescue – a pig. The pig pushed the goat to the shore and rescued it safely. Rescuing animals can be done in many different ways. Some jump in the water and help drowning creatures, some rescue victims of ice captivity, and some break up fights. This cat is also a rescuer. It saved the lives of motherless ducklings. The furball took them in, warmed them up, and became a foster parent. It looks very cute. The little monkey got carried away with playing and ended up on the live wires. Any careless movement, as well as a jump down, could have cost it its life. The baby's mother came to the rescue. First, it jumped on the wires and checked how strong they were and how to act further. After that, it jumped again, picked up the baby, and quickly led it away from danger. Giant petrels are very dangerous birds that boldly attack a variety of creatures, including penguins. But not this time. When they saw the petrel, the penguins stood up for each other and didn't let anyone get hurt. In the end, everyone saved everyone, and the petrel was left holding the bag. Once again, we have the antelope, the main poor fellow in all of Africa, which is hunted by everyone that doesn't mind. This time the antelope fell into the jaws of a crocodile. It could have ended very badly if it weren't for the hippos. As soon as the battle turned into a body of water, the hippos came to the defense of the antelope and drove the crocodile away, and then let the antelope swim away in peace. Did you expect that from these dangerous giants? A small pride of lionesses tracked down a lone buffalo and attacked it. The giant fell down and was about to become dinner. But look, there's an army of buffaloes on the horizon. These African bulls came to the defense of the congener and epically saved its life. We have another drowning creature. There have been too many already, but what can I do? This time a baby deer fell into the water and would definitely have fallen victim to the water if not for this brave dog. It saw the movement in the water, rushed in without a second thought, and pulled the fawn to the surface, where the dog immediately began to bring it back to life. This footage shows a northern goshawk swooping down on a chicken and grabbing it. The prey's feathers fly in all directions. The rooster immediately rushes to the chicken's aid. The goat also gets into the fight. It runs up to the goshawk and tries to scare it off. In the end, the goat and rooster save the chicken, and the northern goshawk flies away with nothing. According to the farmer on whose property the incident took place, the chicken sustained only minor injuries. The cameraman filmed a little puppy being left in the boat. It was quite close to the shore, but the little guy was very afraid to jump into the water. Could have drowned or hurt itself on the rocks. Its adult congener rushed into the water, grabbed the rope with its teeth, and pulled the boat to the shore so that the puppy could easily get off. And finally, here's an unusual video. A pet parrot and a dog are in the kitchen. A feathered creature grabs spaghetti from a pot and gives it to the four-legged guy. Yeah, there's no question of saving a life here, but the video's cute nonetheless. At the very least, the parrot saved its four-legged friend from a little hunger. Well, and from boredom. That's all, guys. Which moment impressed you the most? Let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching, and see you later.